Never has there been a more compelling time to commit to the process of finding your life's purpose. That work that provides your reason for being and generates a state of bliss and fulfillment. All over the world, a shift is taking place. On one hand, the world seems to be in a dire situation. Our ecology is more fragile than ever, and wars and hunger take the lives of many people each day. On the other hand, humanity as a whole is awakening to the understanding that our lives can and should be more than just a constant struggle for survival. Just imagine an on-purpose world where people are too preoccupied living according to their true purpose to bother waging wars, stealing from one another, or committing countless other abuses. It is possible to make a better world, and you are a vital part of this change. It is my firm and passionate belief that if people become serious about seeking and living their life's purpose, it will produce a ripple effect on this planet, the likes of which have never been seen. It could even play a huge part in ending poverty, war, and hunger. Now, here is the author of What's My Purpose? A Journey of Personal and Professional Growth, and the creator and producer of the new upcoming film, One World Living on Purpose, and the creator and host of the Circle of Success Show, Dr. Jim White.
Thank you, David, and good afternoon, everyone. We've got a fantastic show for you today. We have a very special guest, and it's always great to have our guest and be able to call him a friend as well. His name's Wayne Clancy. Wayne's going to be with us for the full hour, and our show theme today is One World Living on Purpose. One World Living on Purpose. We started thinking about this about 7 years ago, and as I said in the introduction, just imagine if we could get the world living on purpose, everybody living on purpose, what we could do collectively. So today we're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk about Wayne's work and from a technology standpoint, what he's doing to pull all of the communication gaps together and help us to continue to align on purpose. So, Mr. Wayne Clancy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim. And I'd just like to say how privileged I feel to be on your show. Do you remember that first conversation we had back a few years ago?
We've had so many wonderful conversations, and that about 5, 6 years ago. So refresh my memory.
Well, I was struggling to put together a bunch of pieces.
Yeah.
Because I knew inherently that everything was connected, and we had this 2-hour conversation. And Jim didn't know me from Adam at the time, and put all that time into it. And I'm sure you've done that with many other people as well. And everything started to come together after that. And when you're thinking about the way that you've organized your thoughts and helping people understand how it's connected, and you start looking for those connections. That's where the magic starts.
Yeah. And now you refresh my memory. I remember that conversation that we had, and it's amazing how people come into your life, and it's meant to be, and it's just magical. And that's what we've enjoyed. And you said it so well in your email a few nights ago. We don't talk that often, but the connection is very strong because we're after the same common bold goal, and that's to help the universe. And I know a lot of our listeners and our viewers and around the world say, man, they're talking about changing the world. Yeah, we are. And we believe we can do it, and we actually are doing it on a daily basis. So once again, it's a privilege, and Wayne had a long flight. Wayne is from Toronto, Canada, and so we're glad you're in the studio. So let's talk about the gaps. At first, a little of your bio, a little background, because you got a fantastic background. So share with our audience a little bit about your background and how you got into this technology, bringing spiritual and energy through technology to communicate and fill these gaps.
Okay. I thought probably the best way to do is give everyone a little bit of an idea on the journey that I've been through.
Okay.
And kind of where it all started back at the beginning. I went to school. I graduated with a marketing degree. And my first job was with a large multinational organization. It was about $800 million. This is back in the early 80s. and which was a big organization at the time. And they had just gone through a period of deregulation. So everything was kind of new now. And marketing was a new concept. They were run by accountants and operators, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you need the whole component. And they brought me in and they said, you're a energetic young guy and you understand marketing. So I was reporting to the CEO of this large corporation at the age of 24 when I first got into it. And my marching orders were, go out and marketize the divisions. And it was, what does that mean? He said, well, you're the marketing guy, you go do it. And you know, it was such an incredible opportunity. And I got out to one of the divisions, and that particular division had this incredible quality reputation in the marketplace. And they, but their market share was dropping, their margins were dropping, and they couldn't figure out why this was going on. So, you know, of course, when you go into a room, sometimes you can see the things that no one else can see, and or because they're so far into the muck. It's not that they wouldn't, but they just necessarily haven't. So I asked the question in the meeting, well, how important is this stuff? Because every year they would do a satisfaction study, and every year they were better than everyone else. And well, they looked around the room. They hadn't asked the question. So that one hit me like a freight train because, wow, there's a correlation here that I don't think a lot of corporations are looking at. So I went away literally on the weekend and came up with a calculation. And we went back out to the marketplace and we asked them and we said to them, you know, how important are each of these different elements to you and how well is the business performing in this area? And what came back was that we found that they were what I called over-allocated in areas. And that meant that the importance that the customers were putting on a lot of the items was lower than their performance. And it was a simple concept. And what we did was, and I sat down, I looked at it, how do we bring those two pieces together so we can look at it singularly? What is the gap between the expectation and the delivery? So we went back in, of course, the knee-jerk reaction is, well, we're going to stop doing those things. We'll stop spending money in there. And it occurred to me, well, just to be like everyone else. And well, geez, no, we don't want to be like everyone else. We are special. Well, let's go out and find out if this is important. So we went, in those days, Apple, it was one of the first comings of Apple, and they were huge, and we had a number of other huge clients. And we went out and talked to them and said, how important is this stuff to you? And they said, it's really important to us. And we said, would you put your name to it?
Stuff meaning what?
All the different touch points and the differentiators, the extra value things that they did. And so when we went out, so we went and said, would you put your name to it? Simply, we put a program together that said, what's it worth to you? We used these leading companies, educated the marketplace, brought up the importance, and recaptured market share. And literally the business turned around in 6 weeks. Wow. Because the value was in the education. And that was the first gap that we really, where this all came together.
In the education of finding out what people want, is that, I mean...
It's helping them understand what it was doing for them.
Okay, what their product or service was doing for them.
What the certain components of the product and service were doing for them.
Okay.
Because there's two things we can work with. There's importance and then there's performance.
Right.
And if importance is low and performance is high, you're doing things that your customers don't understand the value of.
Okay.
But you can choose to take your performance down, or you can choose to move the importance up. And the only way to do that is through education.
So fast forwarding through the years, I know you started your existing company, what, in 1985?
Yeah, that was the original consulting firm.
So moving forward, you've developed all of these different, what I think is just phenomenal, I'm going to, lack of a better word, software, computer programs to be able to measure, and especially is go back to our purpose, to what's our purpose, and when you're talking to people, you're measuring how they feel about stuff, right? Is that a simplistic way?
Yeah, they are perception models, but that's how we make our decisions.
Yeah.
If you believe something is good, you tend to make decisions and buy that way.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how it came together. But it's all about the relationships and being able to understand, because a lot of relationships are very complex, and it doesn't matter if it's a business relationship. We've even put the tools together, interpersonal relationships, because it's all the same.
And that goes to how we can talk about, as the program progresses, how we can use some of your tools to be able to communicate to the world. If we all could communicate better, understand each other better, and live that life on purpose, is that some tools that you're going to have?
No, absolutely. And we'll get into the technology side, but it's that gap that's at the center of absolutely everything. It's when people don't understand, and there's a gap in thinking, and it doesn't matter who they are, that's where we have our challenges, and that's what causes a lot of the things that we'd like to get rid of.
I tell you, we got to get in a break, and what you're going to find in live television, this stuff just flies by.
It does.
It flies by. So we got to get in a quick break. You're watching KYMB TV, Comcast Channel 19. We'll be right back after this message. Wayne, back on camera. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Wayne, for sharing all this great. And we need to have you back on the show to drill down on this a little bit more from the technical side at some point in time. And we can do that remotely. You don't have to, so we'll talk about that. So I definitely want to have you back here as soon as you get that ready to launch, okay?
Okay. Absolutely. Good. I would welcome the opportunity, Jim.
Okay, good. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching KYMB TV, Comcast Channel 19. I'll see you next Monday.
This has been Jim White's Circle of Success Show. Please visit our website, jlwcos.tv. Join us next time as Jim White brings it all together on Jim White's Circle of Success.